Cards to Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium and the Adventure Begins, located on 1488, right next to a big old movie theater. I'm Chaz Graves, and here with me today, Preston Laird and Mark Blair.
Hey Chaz, thanks for that introduction. I'm Mark here with Preston. We are Cards to Yards, a sports card and sports podcast coming to you from the Adventure Stadium at Adventure Begins Comics and Games. Preston, it's football, right? Like that's basically the sport that's going on. Yes, we have basketball, but baseball is at a standstill.
Yep.
Being in Texas, we don't get to talk a lot of hockey. As that season heats up, we'll look forward to that. But a non-sports related question for you. How can you catch all the Pokemon if there's no Pokemon?
Well, I would think it'd be quite difficult. But if you're looking for G.I. Joe, then you might be looking in the right place, huh?
Yeah, so Logan Paul, famous YouTuber / part-time boxer, he took on Mayweather and made a little pocket change, like tens of millions, and Mayweather probably made like 60 million in that fight.
Yep.
So people have very strong opinions about Logan Paul being a celebrity YouTuber, but he is a big, player in the Pokemon trading card community. He wears a Charizard around his neck, literally, on a chain, so it made a lot of news back last year, late in December, when he bought a case of Pokemon, sealed first edition, for $3.5 million. Now,
which was more than they sold a case of 1986 Fleer basketball with the Jordan rookie. Can you imagine?
Yeah, because, here's the thing about Pokemon is Charizard will never sprain his MCL.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, Pikachu's not out day to day with back spasms. So, but obviously, Pokemon was one of those things that just like took collectors not by surprise, because people have known about Pokemon for a long time. But the fever at which it caught on during the pandemic, and that's what basically caused Target and other retailers to not be able to stock cards in store. You had the incident in Milwaukee where in a Target parking lot in Wisconsin, guys got into a gunfight over Pokemon cards.
Oh, yeah.
So Pokemon's a big deal. Can't never imagine spending $3.5 million on something, let alone sealed wax.
Yeah.
So in the Pokemon community, there's a website called Poke Beach, and if you want to see some like CSI, NCIS, the Wire type sleuthing that goes on with like trading cards, and you had no idea that people would know how to like track boxes over the years or decades, go read this article from Poke Beach about how they knew a month ago, this is not real.
Yeah.
Like these cards are not going to be real. Because the story goes that Logan Paul found a seller. He sold him this case for $3.5 million that he had just bought for $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so Logan Paul does this live unboxing, and lo and behold, it's not Pokemon cards. It's 1991 Impel G.I. Joe cards. Now, here's the thing. I love G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
But those G.I. Joe cards are maybe combined worth a couple $100. And that's sealed. So he was supposed to have probably like 6 first edition boxes in there in that case at that time, and nothing. So
yeah, I mean,
now because he does this live, and because he was smart enough, to know to have witnesses around, and even the people that certified it and sold it were there witnessing him open these.
And who certified that, by the way? I'm curious.
It was the baseball card exchange.
Oh, wow.
BBCE. And here's the thing. So there's a little bit more to this story, but basically he opens it up. It's these kind of junk cards from the 90s, even though I love Snake Eyes and Scarlet and Duke and Gojo. But so he gets his money back, right? And the hits alone, this guy made $28 million off YouTube just last year. So he's not hurting for money.
No.
But I guess the alarming thing about this, Baseball Card Exchange certified this, and what they do is they look at every nook cranny aspect of that box. They look at the seal, and they have, they're putting it really under a microscope.
I mean, these guys are professionals. They've been doing this
Yeah.
for a long time. I mean, they've certified some of the biggest collections in wax that the world's ever seen. So the fact that they actually missed something is astonishing to me.
Well, and so here's the thing. It kind of opened them up that, we have a blind spot. We don't really do Pokemon.
Yeah.
Now, saying you don't really do Pokemon after you kind of blow a $3.5 million deal, we'll see what happens to them. But a lot of people hadn't heard of Baseball Card Exchange. And obviously, like, Logan Paul brings in fans of all types with that many followers, like 50 million plus. So people are just watching his videos all the time. He fought Floyd Mayweather, so he basically gets into every aspect of popular culture. So a lot of those people probably haven't heard of Baseball Card Exchange, but it is a service. They're typically they are very reliable. However, I have seen unboxings where the cards were real, but maybe the key rookies were taken out and stuff like that. So none of this is perfect, but here's the thing. If you're ever going to buy a $3.5 million case of Pokemon cards, maybe get one that was sold through to Heritage Auction and not left on someone's doorstep for $20 Canadian Post.
Yeah, I agree.
So the Poke Beach people were able to backtrack and go, oh, this isn't real. I mean, what's amazing is people know the UPC numbers on this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they know where those boxes lived for years in the warehouse,
Where they
allegedly.
originated from. Mhm.
Yeah. So, and that's what's so crazy about this is people are so feverish about this that you can track. But your example with 86 Fleer, there's not much of that left.
No.
And people know its value, to be sure. You're not going to find that in your grandma's attic at this point. So with things like that, because it's minimal and because it's so high profile, yeah, of course. In these days, you will be able to track it. But anyway, just if anyone that listens or watches Cards to Yards, if you're going to buy a $3.5 million case of Pokemon cards, just be careful.
Do your research.
Just do your research.
Yep.
Speaking of other celebrities that are into this type of stuff, comedian Jeff Foxworthy, he's a known baseball fan and card collector, obviously from Blue Collar Comedy Tour,
Yeah.
the Jeff Foxworthy Show. He also recently had a show on A&E called What's It Worth? And I just didn't know how big of an aficionado he was, but he's selling part of his collection through a place called Got Baseball Cards in Georgia. And now the prize of this collection is a PSA 4 Mickey Mantle rookie card.
Yeah.
That'd be nice to have, right?
It's amazing.
And then also he's got a SGC Roger Maris rookie card and a whole bunch of other mantles and some autographed baseballs. So this is just a testament to all types of people collect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating. Jeff is he's one of my favorite comedians. You might be a redneck, but I've read a little bit on him, and very interesting life that he's led from the time that he first started getting into performing on the Tonight Show. He used to carry a backpack with him with baseballs, and he would have comedians, athletes, just general celebrities sign these balls whenever he would go on the show, or if he'd be on tour, or go to a country show, or whatever it may be. So he's got this extensive collection of autographed baseballs with some of the most off the wall people that you would ever imagine on a baseball. Like Johnny Carson, Johnny Cash, Red Skelton. I'm talking some of the legends of comedy. And he's even thrown out a first pitch at an Atlanta Braves baseball game, a playoff game, as a matter of fact. And after he threw the first pitch out, he noticed that Jimmy Carter, one of the ex-presidents, was behind home plate. And he goes and has Jimmy Carter sign the ball for his collection. And Jimmy's, wrote an inscription on there, "Great first pitch." And, that's one of his prized pieces in his collection. I just find it very fascinating. I would love to have an autographed baseball with a president's signature on it. But he also does a lot of other collecting. I noticed that he's got an extensive arrowhead collection that he's got of all arrowheads that he's found himself. So dude's really, really interesting. It cannot possibly hurt the hobby. It's wonderful to have as many celebrities as we can that have that profile that can spread the word of how wonderful this hobby is, because it truly is. And Jeff Foxworthy, just a tremendous dude, and a very exciting time for the hobby.
Oh yeah, it'd be awesome to have a Larry the Cable Guy signed baseball.
Heck yeah.
As well. So we talked about this a little while ago, but Topps had an online poll for fans to vote who's the number one card in the set, and of course, like number one in the top set's a really big deal. Jackie Robinson, Nolan Ryan, Mike Trout, they've all been like card number one guys. It turned out that it is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, which I think we both kind of even broached the subject a few weeks ago, that we thought Ohtani should be the number one card, and lo and behold, here we are. Ohtani, number one.
Now, the number one sought-after card is going to be that Wander Franco.
Yes.
But Ohtani had an incredible season, once in a generation, if not 2 or 3 generation player. I mean, this guy's a pitcher power hitter. Still yet to be seen, because baseball's kind of on ice right now, so we don't really know what his long-term status is going to be with the Angels, or more specifically with pitching and hitting. But fantastic season, and just a perfect way to kick off a set. If you're a set collector, you'll have that card.
Heck yeah, and you know
right on top.
We're really only a few weeks away from spring training.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're going to start reporting next month. I think it's after the 20th or somewhere around there. So, hey guys, baseball's not too far away.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that think baseball never ends, and especially since some people can't even get through one game. They're like, I don't understand. Where's the timer on this?
Yeah, right.
But no, that's number one card in the 2022 Topps flagship. Quite an honor, and like I said, a long list of really Hall of Famers that do that. So. Now, unfortunately, like you said, there's no baseball to talk about, but there is quite a lot of football.
Yes, sir.
So I would say, we try to do this kind of a fun speculation, not take it too seriously, but we do like to speculate on players whose value will rise in big-time situations. I would say if you're watching the NFL playoffs, you probably already know this, but go out and collect as many referee rookie cards as you possibly can, because, man, they are destroying everyone in the playoffs right now, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I witnessed it myself. I know Dak Prescott's not a happy camper at this time. I mean, that was just a mess. But at the same time, you got to take a little responsibility of where you're at. You need to understand the situation a little bit better, I think, as a football team. Had they just gone up to the line, handed the ball directly to the ref, I think they would have been able to get a playoff. So in that situation, I really can't blame the refs a whole lot. I mean, these guys have seen enough football. They've been around enough to know what you're supposed to do when you've got a few seconds left on the clock, and I just don't think that they did it. They panicked, and they weren't able to get the playoff.
And what you're referring to is there was a case at the end of the Cowboys game, which was a tight game to the 49ers, which they ended up losing. But they ran a probably ill-advised QB rush.
Yeah.
Basically with no timeouts left and just a handful of seconds on the clock. And so then you got to run down the field, and what I'm sure people that watch football understand is that you have to run down the field as the quarterback. The refs have to get there to put the ball down. Your 300-pound linemen have to get set. Wide receivers, tight ends, no one can be moving except and you have to you spike the ball and stop the clock. Now, in that case, if he could have even got the snap off, then you just run a play, and whatever happens. But look, the reason they got into that situation is the 20-something penalties. And just poor clock management, and it's something that's happened to the Cowboys all season. But when you're watching the playoffs and you have a lot more eyes on it than a normal regular season game, and it comes down to that moment, we all live for that moment, the drama. That's why we love it. But those refs are just in this microcosmic bubble where it's very easy to blame them.
Of course.
I think in that game, you can really point fingers at the coaching and the Cowboys themselves for everything that led to that point.
I agree.
I would say in the Bengals-Raiders game, a little bit of a different story because, there was that touchdown that Joe Burrow threw, and you could clearly hear a whistle. So some of the Raiders had stopped moving, and then, he just hits an open man in the end zone. And that ended up being a 6-point game that the Raiders lost.
Yeah.
And everything they've gone through this season, you feel a little bit bad for them, but it's the same thing. Like I saw the way they were playing at the beginning of that game in the first half. You have all the playoff nerves, and you're just making bonehead plays. So easy to point out the refs. I'm kind of just jumped on the bandwagon of everyone blaming the refs, but then I'll jump back off and look and through the lens and be like, oh, you should never be in that situation. You learn that from like YMCA on. Never be in a situation at the end where it's in someone else's hands. It's kind of like Rocky going the distance with Apollo Creed. That's great, but you're not going to get the decision.
Yeah.
The champion is always going to get the decision. So, like in UFC, if you are going for the title and someone else is holding, you better not go to a decision.
That's right.
Because the judges are going to go with the champ every time. And we'll see what happens, but some of those refs will not be participating the rest of the way.
I agree.
They were sent home.
Really, the end of the Dallas game didn't bother me, but the end of that play in the Cincinnati game did, because I watched it probably 20 times, and the DBs for the Raiders obviously stopped running. They stopped, the play from every angle that I've seen, and they're just left there holding their hands up because they heard the whistle. They stopped. But what are you always told in football? You play through the whistle.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to fault the Raiders for stopping on that play. The whistle never should have been blown, but that's beside the point. It was blown. So I agree with you. The play should have been blown dead, and they should have replayed it. But we are living in an imperfect world, and sports is definitely far from perfect.
Oh, right. And but those are just two instances, and probably the most glaring of the refs being, kind of center stage on that. But there was 4 other playoff games because of the all the teams that were competing to go to the Super Bowl. You, of course, had the Titans and Packers sitting out because they had byes. But we'll briefly go over the other 4 results here. The Cardinals, even with J.J. Watt coming back, who was supposed to be out for like another 3.5 months or something like that, and you could tell that he probably rushed it, but their injuries finally caught up to him. They didn't have Hopkins. Kyler Murray was not playing like he had all season, and they were just blasted 34-11 by the Rams. The Rams are definitely playing with that home crowd, and the momentum was just going. It was through the roof. And in that first half, Kyler Murray was in the end zone and just sort of...
Oh, yeah, just underhanded.
Just underhand, like, oh, I got to get out of this. And the only people there were 3 Rams defensive players, and they literally walked 2 yards, and they got a touchdown.
The shortest pick 6 in NFL history for a playoff game. So, yeah, very interesting.
Wow. I mean, it was... Yeah, everyone was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
The best team won, hands down. The Rams have superior talent. They've got a superior quarterback, way more experience. He's been there, he's done that, even though he hasn't really sniffed the playoffs, with the Lions. Defensively, offensively, offensive line. I just think the Rams are a loaded team, and they could go all the way this year.
They really could. And speaking of quarterbacks, you look at that Chiefs and Steelers matchup, and you got Patrick Mahomes, who's been off and on all year, as we've talked about, and then you have, we thought Big Ben was already done, but then kind of that the weird, playoff.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just crazy.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. What are the odds that Pittsburgh's going to get in? They're the biggest Jacksonville Jaguar fans on the planet.
Yeah.
And I mean, Indianapolis laid an absolute egg.
They did.
I couldn't believe they were dominated in that game, but they were. They were dominated. And then the Raiders game, going down to the overtime, they were 2 feet away from being a tie game at the end. I mean, there were several chances for that game to wind up in a tie, but just the sheer fact that Pittsburgh was in there, it was amazing. the result of the game was not a surprise at all, though.
No, the result of the game was not a surprise. Patrick Mahomes' performance was a surprise. Not that he threw 5 touchdowns, but he did it in like 10 and a half minutes on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like slicing and dicing crazy. They won 42-21, and yeah, Big Ben, that's his official curtain call,
sir.
Or still curtain call, if you will. But
I like it.
the Chiefs, wow. Like when they fell to the 2 seed, I'm like, oh, they're not going to live up to those expectations. But now they turn it right back around, and now they're the team to beat again in the AFC, even though the Titans had the bye.
Yep.
The other matchup in the or as far as the other conference goes, Eagles fell behind early. They could not get to Tom Brady often enough,
No.
and they lost to the Bucs 31-15. And it's just another case of Tom being ice cold and doing what he's supposed to do, and then everyone else playing up around him, and they got the ground game running a little bit to get, allow those passing lanes to open up. And, you can't go down you can't go down 17-0.
Yeah.
Well, just come back easily.
It's just another ho-hum Tom Brady playoff game. Nothing to see here. Move along. Let's go on to the next game. I mean, we've seen this movie a lot of times, and it really hasn't changed much in the last 15, 18 years. So.
And everything is always just so focused and centered, not only the hobby, but just sports in general on that quarterback position. And for the last game to go over, Josh Allen, he looked like an MVP, and then Mac Jones looked like he already started his sophomore slump. Like already. He's just like, I don't need the offseason. I'm just going to start my sophomore slump now.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like a rookie, but you can't take away from the season he's had. He's had a tremendous season under Belichick. I think the sky's the limit for that guy, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of him in the playoffs down the road. So
yeah, and
keep your chin up, Mac.
Bills Mafia did their job. The place was feverish. Bills scored on all 7 offensive possessions. They had the crazy. So 47-17 route. So real quick, we'll go over the matchups coming up, and I want to hear your picks for them.
You got
so Bills versus Chiefs. What do you think?
I like the Bills. I really like the Bills a lot. The Chiefs have been extremely inconsistent this season. Their defense has at times looked amazing, at other times completely just lost. And I think that it's going to come back to bite them eventually this year. I don't think they put together 2 straight stellar games all season, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. I just have a feeling that this is Buffalo's time, and Josh Allen's peaking. He's playing extremely well. I mean, he ran more last week than I've seen him run all season, and he was running roughshod all over that team. So I really, really like the Bills in this matchup. Spread-wise, I'd take whatever points that they're getting, because I'm sure it's 5 or 6 points or whatever. But if I were a betting man, which I may or may not be, who knows? But anyway, on to the next game. What do you think is going to go on with the Bills and the Chiefs, Mark?
Well, I mean, to me, that's a push. I mean, it can't be like a 2.5-point spread. But I'm going to say Chiefs the way Mahomes is playing. But they've been on again, off again too. Yeah. So it's just it's just Jekyll and Hyde. Whatever, if the good Bills show up or the good Chiefs show up, if they both show up, it's going to be one of the best games we've ever seen.
I think it's going to be a tremendous game.
I think it will be good. Okay, so the Titans are fully rested. They may or may not have Derrick Henry. He's basically going to be like a decision probably the day before.
Yep.
Titans versus Bengals, who looked pretty good.
Bengals.
Yeah.
Bengals are on fire.
Yeah.
I told you 2 weeks ago, Bengals are my sleeper pick to win it all, because they are playing the best football of any team right now, in my opinion. Their quarterback's playing the best ball of any quarterback in the playoffs right now. The receivers are, in my opinion, hands down the best group of receivers in the playoffs. Defensively, they're consistent. I don't think they're tremendous defensively. I think that you're probably going to see a higher scoring game. But with all the weapons, with Joe Burrow, with their receivers, and Joe Mixon in there, I love Cincinnati right now. I don't see anybody stopping them going to the going on to the Super Bowl. So right now they're my Super Bowl pick.
I love them, but they're still young.
Yeah.
And I think the Titans are going to be ready to go, rested.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Titans in that
right.
one. Titans are not as fun as the Bengals.
I'm in an underdog kind
yeah.
of mood. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know what it is. Normally, I don't really ride the underdogs a whole lot, but for some reason this week, I just feel there's going to be some upsets going on.
Well, I don't necessarily know that Tom Brady could ever be an underdog, but
Yeah.
I might think the Bucs will be an underdog to the Rams. So who do you have picked there?
Ooh, man. Here again, I got to go with the Rams. All-around package. I just think Rams are playing great ball. Stafford's playing great. The running game's tremendous. I mean, they got Cam Akers back. Cam Akers looked amazing in the limited action that he had. I mean, really, it wasn't that limited. I mean, he caught 2 deep balls.
Yeah.
I mean, he averaged, I don't know, 4.5 yards a rush maybe for the game. Just getting his feet wet, getting back into the groove. Surely amazing that he has come back in the same season as an Achilles injury. I don't think I've ever seen another player, especially in an offensive position that he's in, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, come back that quickly from such a devastating injury. I think our technology, our medical advancements have a lot to do with that. This is completely unheard of if this were to happen, 5 years ago even.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
we're talking a year and a half recovery in most cases when it comes to an Achilles injury. So absolutely stunning that he's playing. I think he's a stud. He is phenomenal, and he can do nothing but help this team move further in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm gonna pick the Rams too because, and the reason goes back to the Texans, who otherwise we wouldn't have any reason to talk about during playoff time. But if you ever watched those tight Texans-Patriots games, whenever they got to Tom Brady, he lost his mind.
Yep.
And so I think the Rams defense is the ones to get to him, and I think they take down the Bucs. And
if you can move him out of the pocket, I think it disrupts his game, and that's a key to the victory as far as I'm concerned.
And if you hit him, it just unravels. I've seen it before. I mean, if you sack him 3 times, you win. That's basically how you beat Tom Brady. And then finally, Aaron Rodgers and the Pack.
Yep.
Versus the 49ers, who shocked at least all the Cowboys fans. So who do you got, 49ers or Packers?
Well, first of all, let me say sorry, Cowboys fans. Not sorry. It really wasn't that unexpected.
No.
I was a little surprised, but
the way it went down, maybe?
Yeah. It was all self-inflicted wounds like they normally do in the playoffs. So, the Texans still have more playoff victories than Dallas does in the last 20 years, and that's not much to rest your laurels on, but hey, it's something, right?
Yeah.
So better luck next year, Cowboys fans. But who do I like? Green Bay, hands down, 1,000%. I think Green Bay is going to take this game easily. It may or may not be a close game, but I just don't think that San Francisco's got the weapons to take out Green Bay on the frozen tundra.
Oh, and that is the home field advantage of all home field advantages. And as cold as it is in Texas this week, I haven't even looked at the weather yet.
Yeah, I can't only imagine how cold it's going to be.
Maybe another ice bowl.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? But with or without Lambeau's help, Packers are way better team. It will be interesting. And Garoppolo versus Rodgers is yet again. We have so many really interesting quarterback matchups. Yeah. And it's a lot of them are sort of like, changing of the guard, but this one's a little different because Garoppolo's been on the public conscience for so long.
Yeah.
Just
on paper, I think this is the most confident I feel in a team.
Me too.
The other games I think can go either way, completely a coin toss for most part, but I do believe that Aaron Rodgers and company are going to take care of business in Lambeau.
Well, it'll be interesting, and we'll see who winds up in the Super Bowl. But I think it's going to be a good one this year.
Yeah.
I really do. Well, just a little bit of news about the other football, and that is, of course, soccer. As we're approaching Qatar in 2022 for the World Cup. And we had news that one of the biggest stars is out with COVID protocols. That's Lionel Messi. That's not something we should be concerned about because they've already they've qualified for the World Cup. Argentina has they're just sending him out the next 2 matches while he's recovering from a COVID infection. And being that he's 34, they might have been resting him anyway. But it kind of begs the question. I just wanted to throw this out there. What's going to happen? Can you imagine you're a soccer player and you live your life to play the game, and the World Cup happens every 4 years? Mm-hmm. This is going to be the first instance of it that we've had during a pandemic.
Yes.
Can you imagine like testing positive before your group play, and then missing the opportunity that you probably will never get again because it's going to be 8 years in between?
Well, we've kind of already gone through this with the Olympics. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that have trained their entire lives that will never get to participate in Olympics because that window is so small.
Right.
And it closes real quick. And when you've got to cancel an Olympics, it destroys a lot of dreams. And when it comes to soccer and all the other sports, it's inevitable that COVID is going to disrupt it in some way, somehow, because you've seen it in every other sport. So World Cup is not going to be any different. There will be some shocks. There will be some disappointments. Let's just hope it's at a minimum because I don't want it to tarnish the result of the World Cup.
Right.
I'm hoping that it's not going to be something that's just utterly devastating where a team loses, 3-4 of their best players, something of that nature. You can get by without Messi in a few games, just like you can get by without Pulisic for Team USA in a few games if you have to.
Maybe.
They always they
Yeah.
rest guys in these qualifying matches on occasion. So not a huge deal that he's getting rest at this time, but I think that we're in for quite a show when it actually kicks off and then those positive test results start rolling in and disrupting play. So we'll see what happens.
And there's already a lot of drama behind this one just because of how the stadiums are being built over there and are they ready? And oh, by the way, it's probably going to be 109 degrees during game time.
Yeah, holy moly!
Yeah, it's going to be hot, but we'll heat up the soccer talk as well as we get closer.
Heck yeah.
Because I'm excited. I mean, United States is going to make it, and the fact that they didn't make it in the last one was just gut wrenching. After all they did the previous 20 years to build up soccer in America.
Yep.
But
best team we've ever fielded, as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be a very exciting World Cup.
Oh yeah. So let's go to trading cards.
Yeah.
Go to the cards part of Cards to Yards. And what's coming out?
So next week, actually, let's start with this week. We've got one new product coming out today, as a matter of fact, Thursday. It's going to be Mosaic Choice. It's just another version of Mosaic Football. Mosaic Choice Football 2021. Really, really excellent product. Limited production on it. We're only getting a few boxes, so if you want it, get into the store quick because they won't last long. And then next week, one of the best basketball products out there that gets released every year is going to be Flawless Basketball. Not an expensive product by any means, but super high-end, super high demand. So get your Flawless Basketball. I'm only getting 1 or 2 boxes of that. And then we've got another Mosaic product coming out, Mosaic No Huddle, which is football's version of your fast break Mosaic, where you've got some added parallels and inserts that are included that are not in the regular hobby. It's kind of a mishmash of a combination of retail and hobby and some extra goodies that are thrown in. So come by next week, get your brand new Mosaic No Huddle. And as always, we are taking HGA submissions for card grading. We're submitting those every week as well, so get your cards in, have me or Lou take a look, and we'll give you our opinion on what we think that they're going to wind up getting graded at. And then we've got our grand opening celebration this Saturday, the 22nd. Our Mosaic football break is sold out, that we're going to be breaking at 4 o'clock in the store. We're going to have raffle prizes, lots of fun, lots of giveaways. So come on by, bring the family, bring the kids, and we're going to have a lot of fun this Saturday.
Oh, yeah. And this, and again, if you haven't seen the Space Perfect Time, come check it out, right?
Absolutely. We're always getting in new memorabilia, new product all the time. So even if you've been in, come on back in, and it'll look a little different next time you're in here.
And that'll be a fun break, too, going on while the playoff games are going on also. Well, thanks so much, Preston, for chatting with me on Cards to Yards here.
Absolutely.
We're going to close the show with glossary terms because you and I just wax poetic about wax and trading cards. So BBCE, if you ever heard that term, that is the baseball card exchange from the top of our show the story about Logan Paul and the Pokemon debacle. Baseball Card Exchange, they're a company that certifies and authenticates sealed wax. They inspect the seals on the boxes and verify that the product has never been tampered with. They specialize in sports cards. So just to throw that out there because of the Pokemon story. But thanks again.
Yeah.
Been a blast. We'll be back next time with more Cards to Yards. Thanks. Back to you, Chaz.
Well, gang, that's all for today's episode. So join us next week. Cars to Yards, brought to you by the Adventure Stadium, and the adventure begins. Again, we're located off 1488 and Woodland Square Boulevard. See you next time.